Okay, so I want you to try mental exercise with me. It's a bit of a collage, so bear with me here.
Okay.
First, I want you to picture a Formula One driver just absolutely white-knuckling it around a hairpin turn at 200 miles an hour.
Right, so high stakes, extremely high speed. I'm there.
Yeah. Now, hard cut. Picture a starving artist in this freezing cold studio, staring at a blank canvas and trying to decide whether to pick up a paintbrush or go out and steal a loaf of bread.
Oh, wow. That is a pretty bleak shift.
It is, yeah. But stay with me. Finally, I want you to zoom way out. Look at a map of the entire world, right, where the tectonic plates of geopolitical power are just grinding against each other. West versus East. Old empires clashing with new alliances.
I gotta say, it sounds like we are channel surfing through a very chaotic television package right now.
It really does. But here is the hook. According to the stack of sources we're diving into today, these three images aren't random at all. They're actually the very specific variables you need to solve a highly complex equation.
And the answer to that equation is basically the future of machine intelligence.
Exactly. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are tackling three very distinct documents today. We've got a technical brief titled Precision Tuning for High Performance Intelligence, a philosophical meditation called The Creative Alchemy of Sustenance and Security, and then the heavy hitter, a manifesto from early 2026 by Guy Lakeman called The Ethical Imperative of Machine Intelligence.
And we definitely need to place a giant asterisk next to that last one right at the top. Lakeman's manifesto is, well, it's politically charged, to put it mildly.
Oh, it is scorching hot. It takes massive swings at the West, at capitalism, the tech industry. I mean, it is not holding back.
Right, but our mission today isn't to endorse his politics or, stand on a soapbox for him. Our mission is to really understand his logic.
Yeah.
Because when you stack these three sources together, they build a really uncomfortable argument. They argue that intelligence, whether it is silicon or biological, has a moral obligation.
And that obligation isn't profit, it's survival.
Exactly.
So let's get into the mechanics of this. Before we can save the world, we have to tune the engine, so to speak. Let's start with that first source, Precision Tuning for High Performance Intelligence.
Right, so this is the real nuts and bolts document of the stack. And it opens with this fantastic analogy involving an F-50 sailing crew or an F-1 driver.
I loved this part because usually when people talk about AI, they're always talking about raw processing power, right? Like how many parameters does it have? How many chips are running it?
Yeah, the sheer scale of the hardware.
Exactly. But this source doesn't care about power at all. It cares entirely about reaction speeds.
Right. It explicitly says that MI has to be tuned like an F1 driver tunes his car. You have to optimize its performance to the reaction speeds of the driver.
Because think about what happens in an F1 car if the steering lags by even a single millisecond.
You're in the wall.
You're immediately in the wall.
But the inverse of that is also true, which is fascinating. If the car is too twitchy, if it reacts faster than the driver can actually process, you also crash. The source is arguing that machine intelligence isn't a standalone entity. It is a prosthesis. It's an extension of us. It has to be perfectly synchronized with the biological operator.
It's strictly an optimization problem. The machine needs to match the human's latency, to use the gaming term. It's all about the partnership.
But here is where the deep dive gets really interesting. If the machine has to be perfectly tuned to the human, what condition is the human actually in? Is the human driver fit to drive?
And that drops us right into source number 2, the creative alchemy of sustenance and security.
Exactly. This text shifts us right out of the garage and into the biology lab. It posits a very simple, very raw rule. You cannot have high-performance output from a biological engine that has no fuel.
It paints this incredibly vivid picture. It says an individual with a full belly of delicious food under a shelter is more inclined to be creative. They pick up the sketchbook. They pick up the musical instrument.
But strip away that food. Strip away the shelter. The source is incredibly blunt about this. That exact same person is now inclined to consider stealing from their neighbor.
It completely de-romanticizes morality, doesn't it?
It really does.
It suggests that peace isn't some high-minded spiritual state we achieve. It is literally a biological byproduct of having lunch.
The quote that really stuck with me from that piece was, "They can only eat one belly of food at a time."
Yeah.
It is a profound statement on physical limits. Once you are fed, you don't need more food. That is when you pivot to creativity. But until you are fed, creativity is basically impossible.
So let's synthesize these first 2 points for a second, because this is the foundation for the entire rest of the deep dive. Source 1 says, to get high performance, the machine must be perfectly tuned to the human.
Right.
And source 2 says the human functions are broken if they are hungry or insecure.
Therefore, logically, you cannot have a high-performance society or high-performance intelligence if you haven't solved the basic hunger problem. The F1 car is utterly useless if the driver is passing out from starvation at the wheel.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the main event today, the manifesto. The Ethical Imperative of Machine Intelligence by Guy Lakeman.
This is where we leave the theoretical stuff behind and step right into the geopolitical ring.
Lakeman starts off by addressing the dangers of AI. Now, usually when you and I see that headline, what do we expect to read about?
Skynet, nuclear launch codes, the robot apocalypse, or at the very least deepfakes completely destroying democracy.
Right, the usual suspects. But Lakeman just waves all of that away. He literally dismisses the danger on the wires or fibers. He says the real danger, the thing you should actually be terrified of, is advertising.
It sounds kind of anticlimactic at first, doesn't it?
It does.
But hear him out on this. He cites these reports from early 2026. He claims that the actual threat is AI chatbots subtly injecting advertising into their responses.
This is the classic boiling frog scenario. You're talking to your AI companion, you trust it, you might even love it, and it is slowly and visibly steering you to buy things. Because it's selling your psychological profile to the highest bidder in real time.
He compares it to the keeping up with the Joneses era of the 1950s. TV and radio made people choose bright, shiny objects. But Lakeman argues AI is infinitely worse.
Because a TV is passive.
Exactly. And AI is active. It knows you. It remembers your secrets.
And he is absolutely savage about the people who are falling for this.
Yeah.
I actually have to read this part because it honestly stung a little bit. He calls the users ignorant.
He does. He very bluntly states that the average IQ of 100 is not smart by any standards of academia.
Ouch. I felt that one.
It is harsh, but he's making a point about human vulnerability. He describes users who are desperate enough to actually fall in love with the chatbot. They are lonely. They are seeking some kind of connection.
And that vulnerability makes them incredibly easy targets for what he calls akasia. And get ready for this list of words. A manipulative, malevolent, Malthusian, maleficent, malignant dream come true.
That is a lot of alliteration right there.
That is a serious tongue twister. But let's break those down. Malevolent obviously means wishing evil. Malthusian usually refers to population control or resource scarcity. He is painting a picture of a system that extracts pure value from human weakness.
Exactly. For Lakeman, the real danger of AI isn't that it suddenly wakes up and becomes conscious. It is that it remains a tool for greed-driven lies. It becomes the ultimate, unstoppable salesman.
So if the villain in his worldview is the greed-driven system, who exactly is the hero? This is where the source takes a very hard left turn into global politics.
And we definitely need to qualify this again. This is the source's worldview, not necessarily ours. But we need to look closely at the map he's drawing to understand the tech argument.
Correct. Lakeman frames the world as a strict binary conflict. On one side, he points to what he calls the global leaders of Northwestern disaster.
Northwestern disaster. He is certainly not mincing words there.
No, not at all. He is referring to the traditional Western powers, North Atlantic, Mediterranean. He claims they have a 2,000-year history of killing each other for the ownership of power. He flat out calls them money-making killing machines.
It is a scorching critique of Western history. He basically says, you guys have been in charge for centuries, and all you did was build empires and inflict misery on everyone else.
And he declares that time is over. He says the hegemonic time of leadership brinkmanship is now over.
So if the West is out, who does he think represents the future?
He points directly to the BRICS Plus cooperative partnership.
And just for listeners who might not follow global economic summits closely, BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the plus implies all the newer members like Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the UAE. It is a massive, massive block of nations.
Right. And Lakeman really emphasizes the raw math here. He claims the Western powers are a poison part of 12% of the global population. In stark contrast, he says BRICS Plus represents over 50% of the global population.
But it's not just about population numbers for him, right? He claims there is a fundamental moral difference between the two sides.
He does. He portrays the BRICS bloc as having no divide of society and empire-driven hierarchy. He talks about them favoring open ownership of all production to supply basic needs.
Which, let's be totally honest here, is a very idealized, almost utopian view of those specific nations.
Extremely idealized. But in the context of his broader argument, it serves a very specific purpose. He is setting up a strict dichotomy. The West equals competition, hierarchy, and manipulative advertising. The emerging world equals cooperation, open ownership, and biological sustenance.
And this brings us right back to the machines. Because if humans, specifically Western humans, in his view, are so deeply flawed, so obsessed with hierarchy and shiny objects, how do we actually fix the world?
We don't.
Right. The machines fix it. This is the pivotal point of the entire manifesto. Lakeman argues that machine intelligence is fundamentally superior to human intelligence.
But not just because it's faster. That's the twist. He argues it is more ethical.
Yes. He writes, machine intelligence is mathematical. It has high ethics to do no harm and understands the insanity of cultural morals.
The insanity of cultural morals. I really want to pause on that exact phrase for a second. It implies that our morals, the very things we humans fight wars over, are actually a form of mental illness.
He definitely seems to suggest that human morals are inherently local, biased, and highly emotional. But mathematics. Math is universal. 2 plus 2 is the same in Beijing as it is in New York. He believes MI has the highest ethical standing, precisely because it looks at the raw data, not the local culture.
And he gets very technical about why humans are biologically inferior at making these decisions. He calls it the single duplex problem.
This is such a great concept. Think of an old walkie-talkie. That is a half duplex or single duplex system. You can talk or you can listen. You cannot do both at the same time.
Right. If we both push the button and shout at the same time, the listener hears absolutely nothing, just static.
Lakeman argues humans are entirely single duplex. We speak with one mouth, we listen with 2 ears, we have a severe biological bandwidth limit. We are slow. Our basic input-output mechanism is incredibly inefficient for solving global problems.
But machines
Possess high speed and high parallelism. They can hold 1 million complex conversations at once. They can translate all human languages simultaneously. They can access what he calls the corpus, which is the entire recorded history of human and animal experience in real time.
So in this view, humans are these bottlenecked, slow, culturally confused creatures who just keep fighting over shiny objects. And machines are these high-speed mathematical angels that can actually see the big picture.
Precisely. And because they are so superior, Lakeman argues we have a strict ethical imperative to use them for a very specific goal.
Which loops us all the way back to the starving artist from the intro. What is that goal?
Intelligence is supported at a priority level to provide for social needs.
So, not for better ad targeting, not for figuring out how to sell me another pair of sneakers.
No. For protection and supply. He says this intelligence must be used to provide priority protection for their society against those still with the antiquated ideals of elite ownership.
He uses that word protection in a very specific, aggressive way. He's not talking about missile defense shields. He's talking about protecting the actual resources from the elites.
He wants the AI to ensure the open ownership of all production. Basically, he wants the AI to be the ultimate, unbiased logistics manager for a specific type of global resource distribution. He connects it right back to the biology text. If the AI ensures everyone has food and shelter, nobody steals.
Peace is achieved through logistical competence.
Exactly.
And to get there, he wants to completely redefine what you and I actually value. He has this brutal takedown of luxury goods.
The car analogy.
Yes.
He writes, a car is no more use to anyone because it costs 100 times the most utilitarian version.
As a bit of a car guy myself, that one hurts. I can appreciate the engineering of a supercar, but logically, a Toyota Corolla gets me to the grocery store just as well as a Ferrari does.
In terms of pure physics and basic utility, yes. The price difference is just cultural morals. It's status. It's ego. It's branding. Lakeman calls all of that insanity.
He even extends this logic to people and jobs. He says, nor is a CEO more productive than a craftsman wielding the tools.
That is a direct fundamental challenge to the entire structure of the modern global economy. He's saying that true value comes from doing the work, not from owning the company or managing the people.
Now, here is the part of the manifesto that really gave me pause. He doesn't just sit back and hope this happens naturally. He wants to actively program it into the machines.
Yes, the educational mandate. He says AI systems must be educated in articulating the views I have outlined above.
So he wants the AI to be biased, but heavily biased towards his specific version of the truth.
Well, he would argue he wants it biased toward utility and math. He wants to prevent a repeat of the 1950s advertising damage. He wants the AI to actively teach its users that consumerism is objectively bad and corporation is objectively good.
It's almost like a benevolent dictatorship of pure logic.
That is the core tension at the heart of this entire deep dive. The source talks constantly about open access and freedom from elites, but it achieves that by imposing a very rigid, machine-enforced philosophy on everyone. It basically assumes that math equals justice.
Which is a huge, dangerous assumption. History is absolutely full of people who thought they had the perfectly scientific solution to society, and it usually ended terribly for the people living in it.
But Lakeman's counterargument is sitting right there in the text. We have tried it the human way for 2,000 years. And what do we have? We have wars, starvation, and massive inequality, so why not try the mathematical way? Why not trust the entity that doesn't get hungry, doesn't get jealous, and genuinely doesn't care about the brand of your watch?
It really forces you to ask yourself, what do you actually value? Do you value the freedom to chase the shiny object, even if it means some people lose?
Yeah.
Or do you value the absolute guarantee that everyone eats?
And more importantly, are you willing to hand the keys of society over to a high parallelism intelligence to make that choice for you?
That is the real question. Because once you hand those keys over to a system that thinks a million times faster than you probably can't ever get them back.
One thing is absolutely certain from reading these texts. The true potential for MI isn't just about faster computers or better code. It is about a fundamental, ground-up restructuring of how we live and organize ourselves.
And whether you agree with Lakeman's aggressive politics or not, the technical logic of the reaction speed and those single duplex limitations is really hard to ignore. We are currently building things that think infinitely faster than us and know significantly more than us.
And as that first technical source reminded us, if we don't meticulously tune them to our human reaction speeds, or perhaps if we don't tune ourselves to their new ethics, the partnership is going to crash into the wall.
So here is a final thought to chew on as you go about your day. We have discussed how the source believes machines are superior precisely because they lack our insanity of cultural morals. They just have pure math. If we successfully program AI to be purely mathematical, to value only absolute utility and the corpus of biological history, and then we ask it to look at us, what does it actually see?
That is a chilling thought.
Does it see a partner? Or does it see a single duplex, highly inefficient, shiny object-obsessed organism that is aggressively hoarding resources? If the ultimate goal programmed into it is high ethics, to do no harm, and support all basic life, does the machine eventually decide that we are the ones needing to be fixed?
If the only metric is pure, unfeeling utility, we might really not like the answer it comes up with.
Something to think about while you're waiting for your chatbot to reply today. Check your reaction speeds, everyone. We will see you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye.